This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, build your online presence with Squarespace.
Hey everyone, Ace of Clay here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another sculpting video. Today I will be making Beetlejuice. Now first things first, if you're new here, I'm a sculptor and every week I make a new sculpture, so be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. So if you're not familiar with the movie Beetlejuice, it was made in 1988 and it is directed by Tim Burton. The plot revolves around a recently deceased couple who become ghosts haunting their former home, and an obnoxious, devious poltergeist named Beetlejuice from the netherworld tries to scare away the new inhabitants. That's basically the movie in a nutshell. It is really funny. It's got Catherine O'Hara, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Michael Keaton plays Beetlejuice, and it's hilarious, so check it out if you haven't already. And if you've already seen it, then watch it again. Alright, so if you want to see me bring Beetlejuice to life, then let's get started. Alright, so just like with last week's video where I sculpted Edward Scissorhands, I made the armature for Beetlejuice off camera. If you want to see how I make my armature, you can check out really any one of my previous videos before Edward Scissorhands, and there will be that whole process there. So just like normal, I drilled 2 holes into my wooden plaque. I sculpted the skeleton for Beetlejuice out of some aluminum wire. I've got a thicker gauge wire for the legs and torso in there, and then I've got a 12 gauge aluminum wire for the arms that I've attached with an even smaller wire, and then I bulked out the torso with some super sculpty ultralight. Bulking can also be done with aluminum foil. I just like to use the ultralight because it gives me more control. Now for this project, just like the last one, I'm going to be using super sculpty firm again. I've got a little chunk of cos clay here. We'll get into that later if we need to. And a lot of you ask me how much clay I use like per figure, and on average, I mean for a figure this size, I'll probably just use this, which is like half of a box. I can usually get 2 decent sized figures out of 1 pound of Super Sculpey, which is great. In the US, that averages to be about like 10 bucks a figure. I'm gonna start covering everything in clay. Today I'm gonna start with the torso just because I wanna get a better feel for the proportions before I start making the legs. So to cover the torso with clay, I'm gonna roll it through my pasta maker on the thickest setting so I get nice even sheets. Poke it through the top there. And then my neck armature is a bamboo skewer that I poked into the ultralight before I baked it. One thing I love about the Super Sculpey ultralight is Super Sculpey original, medium, firm, or I think really any Sculpey brand adheres to it so nicely. Like there's no need to add any bacon bond to it or anything like that. You just press it on and it sticks. And I love that because that's a huge time saver. You don't want to sit here and mess with the clay sticking to the armature. You want to get to the fun part. You want to make those details, you know? Before I go any further, I want to bring up some pictures of this guy. So I think it looks like he wears a couple different outfits in the movie based on my Google image search, and I think I want to do him in that like iconic black and white striped suit with the black tie and the white button up shirt. So we're gonna do that. This is kind of what I was thinking for his pose. Here he's sitting on a tombstone. I don't want him sitting on a tombstone, I want him to be standing up, but he'll kind of be doing something similar, and we'll go for that. But he's wearing this just dirty, nasty looking suit. So let's sculpt that. Throughout my time as Ace of Clay, as a business owner, before I started YouTube, I did a lot of wedding cake toppers and custom orders, so I sculpted like a ton of suits. So this is kind of gonna be like autopilot for me because I've sculpted so many, but I'll try my best to explain everything. All right, now that the torso is there, got the clay on it, looks pretty good, we're gonna start working on the legs. This guy's gonna have a lot of fun little snakes of clay all over him to make those wrinkles and whatnot. Alright, we gotta start these shoes. I'm just gonna create these like a normal pair of shoes to start with, and then I'll go and create the boot top after I'm happy with the bottom part. There's boot number 1. Look at that. Hi, Lucy. She's so good. She just sits here and watches. I'll have to sculpt her one day. I'm gonna start creating some snakes of clay to create the overlapping folds and whatnot that are gonna be at the bottom of the pants here. I want to put some snakes pulling from the knee because the knee is bent. And that's what the fabric would do on it. Alright, leg number 1 looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and detail the other leg off camera. I'll be right back. Alright, so that's the other leg. Looking pretty good. Still got a little bit of refining to do. One boot, it's getting closer. Alright, so we've got the boots looking pretty good, the pants are looking pretty good. Now we're going to work our way up to that torso. But of course, the first step before we start putting the clothes on the torso is to give him a neck. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, now I want to get the shape of his torso down before I start adding the clothing on top of it, of course, and he is not this thin, so we're going to go ahead and add some more clay. Before I started on that coat, I want to add some more wrinkles to the pants. I think these are gonna really finish it off. Now I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna add that collar. And to make the collar, I just wanna cut out this shape here, and then that's gonna go around his neck, and I'm gonna bend the collar forward just like you would on a regular shirt. Just going to blend that bottom edge in with the rest of the shirt, work my way around. And I'm pulling the edges because I want them to be uneven like that, because his suit's all like tattered and worn and messed up. Now I'm going to use some Cos clay to create the bottom half of his coat. This is going to be very similar to what I did with Edward Scissorhands. Alright, so we've got this, which is pretty much what I want. Like that. It's going to go, just want to pucker it a little bit at the bottom there so it's not so perfect. And then get rid of that harsh edge by pinching it. This is looking pretty good. I think I'm ready to bake it, and then I can go ahead and do the arms without worrying about smashing everything that I already did. So let's brush the entire surface with clay softener, get those fingerprints off, get them nice and smooth, and then we'll bake them. Very nice. All right, I'm ready to get this guy into the oven. I will be baking him for about 40 to 45 minutes at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. I will be baking him on a glass Pyrex dish, and I'll be right back. And we're back. Beetlejuice is looking very nice. The cosplay is flexible. The sculpting is nice and hard, and we're ready to keep going. I'm going to continue with this guy's arms. But before I do that, let's take a second to talk about the sponsor of today's video. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you're just getting started or you're an established brand, the Squarespace commerce platform supports the way you do business. Whether you're looking to sell products directly or even bill for your services, they've got you covered. Personally, I love Squarespace for their portfolios and galleries. The portfolios are so professional and so beautifully designed that I know they're going to show my work in its best light. And I really love the customizable galleries that I can even password protect for clients. And one of my favorite Squarespace features is my ability to seamlessly sync all of my social media content to my homepage, or really any page of my website for that matter. So if all of this sounds good to you, head on over to squarespace.com, start a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/aceofclay and save 10% on your first website or domain. Thanks again, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Now back to Beetlejuice. Now we're going to, of course, add some more snakes of clay to create folds and wrinkles all over the sleeves, just like we did with the jacket. Those came out really nice, so I want to do that again on the arms. Now it's time to add some wrinkles to this side. There we go. Both arms have their little wrinkles. Now we're going to go ahead and create the hands. All right, for the hand, I think we're going to give him 5 fingers. This is going to be the first YouTube sculpture that I've made with 5 fingers. I think it is, at least. Alright, now let's do that side. Alright, he's got 2 arms and 2 hands, and we're ready to start his head. Got my aluminum foil here to bulk it out, and then I've got my reference photo. That seems like a good expression to go off. He's got this crazy hair. We'll definitely do that with cosplay after the first bake of his head. And then there's a lot of makeup going on here. So the paint job, I think, is what really is going to sell his face. And let's just get started and start by shaping out that core. He's got a pretty long face. So I want to depict that. Now I'm gonna cover this in clay, and we'll start marking out where the features are gonna go. Once I get this to the correct size, that is at the right scale with the rest of his body. All right, so now that we've got the head shape down, I'm gonna start pressing out the eye area with my large ball stylus, trying to locate where his eyes are gonna be, and then go from there. I always like to start with the eyes because I feel like everything else can sort of branch off of them, as opposed to like starting with the mouth or the nose. When the eyes are in place, I feel like they're the most important facial feature, so I always like to get those out of the way first. All right, so I'm at the 1 hour mark here, and I'm pretty pleased with how this is looking. I think that, you know, the paint is definitely going to be what brings this guy to life and makes him really look like Beetlejuice, obviously because he's in very heavy makeup in the movie. So that's really what's going to make him. And then of course the hair will definitely help too. I'm going to refine things a little bit more, and then we'll get this ready to bake. All right, now let's throw on some ears. Actually, you really can't see his ears, so I'm not going to add any. His hair is going to completely cover them, and then if I'm not happy with how that looks, I can always add the ears after it's baked. It's not the end of the world. So, all All right, there we go. We've got our Beetlejuice head. We're going to attach this to the body with some bacon bond, of course. Alright, let's get this guy in the oven. I'm going to bake him for about 45 minutes at 275 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we'll be right back and we'll stick his hair on. Alright, our guy is baked, looking pretty good, and he's ready for his hair. Like growing all over the place. He's got a bit of a receding hairline. I'm gonna make the base of the hair out of Super Sculpey, and then we're just gonna do the wispy pieces out of cosplay, just like we did with Edward Scissorhands. There we go. Ready to throw this guy in the oven one final time. Gonna do 45 minutes again on my glass Pyrex dish, and I'll be right back when it's time to paint. And we're back, and we're ready to paint Beetlejuice. I think he looks pretty good. He baked very nicely. All the cosplay is good and flexible. All the Sculpey's hard. His hair looks pretty nice. I like how that came out. And let's start painting him. I'm gonna start with the face and hands, because that's what I always do, and then we'll work our way onto his suit. He's got a pretty simple color palette, nothing too crazy. It's just mainly black, white, and green. So we're gonna take that and have some fun with it. So let's get started. So I'm gonna start by creating sort of a like primer coat on his face. Good brush, good brush, good brush, good brush, good brush, good brush. No, not a good brush. All right, so let's paint the face. And I got my blow dryer on standby. I'm gonna start with this nice dove gray color, it's called. I'm gonna put that all over the surface of his skin. Almost white, but it's got a little bit of a bluish gray tint to it. It's got some really good coverage, as you can see. And then if you're trying to avoid brush strokes in your paint layers, it's kind of tricky. Honestly, the best advice I can give you is to just use very, very thin layers. Don't cake on the paint, because the more paint that you're adding to the surface, the more opportunity there is for that to pick up the bristles in the brush. So just do light, thin layers, dust them on like this. And I mean, even if you do this, you're still gonna get some sort of brush stroke in there, because I mean, it's hand painted, what do you expect? But you can really do a pretty good job of getting a nice smooth surface by just not going on too heavy with the paint. Remember, work your way up to the color you want. Don't just slap it on and expect it to look perfect on the first layer. Make sure that first layer is dry. If you're adding a wash over a layer of paint, you always want to make sure that first layer is completely dry, especially for that, because if it's not, then the wash, the extra water is going to just smear around that first layer and it's just going to be a big mess. So be patient and wait for it to completely dry or use a blow dryer. All right, so he's got a fun color palette. I'm excited to do this. To be honest with you, I'm not looking forward to doing the stripes in his coat, but in his whole outfit but whatever, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Now for dabbing shadows, I like to use an old brush that's like basically destroyed or like almost completely destroyed. I think it dabs better. And then every time I dab with a new brush, it always ends up ruining it. So I just like to keep using the old ones for that purpose. So are we gonna do a wash yet? Yeah, I think wash first and then we'll start dabbing some stuff. His face is like dirty looking too. It's not like smooth and nice. So let's achieve that. Get in the mouth and the nose, just in all those nooks and crannies. Cool. Now I'm going to darken the edges by just dabbing the brush. We're not going to be rubbing all of this off. We're just gonna be shading, and whatever we do, we want to leave it there. So far, this guy's kind of painting himself, and that is amazing when that happens. What next? I think let's do the dark circles around the eyes. He's got very, very prominent dark circles. So to do those, we're going to mix a little bit of red, violet, and black, and then we're going to water that down a little bit. Got a little bit of like a dirty little beard, so I guess let's add that. Very subtle. Let's do the irises. Now he's got all this green, mossy looking stuff all over his face, everywhere by his mouth, so let's go ahead and add that in. Alrighty then, his hair is like the same color as his skin with like green all over it. It's basically just like, so we're gonna do a coat of dark gray over the hair and then we're gonna top it off with some green. So let's do that now. I think that looks good. Now for his suit, we're gonna paint the whole thing white first, and then I'm gonna go in, we're gonna antique it. So by white, I mean I'm gonna use this nice parchment color, and then I'm going to lighten it up and then antique it. All right, now that I've got that layer of that off-white color on there, I'm gonna go on top of that with some titanium white. See how nice that looks on top of that? It gives it a little more dimension than just using a color that's slightly off-white. All right, now for the stripes that are probably gonna take me like an hour and a half. And they're not like super thin or anything, so it shouldn't be too bad painting them. There's just maybe like, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 5 on each leg, and then like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then there's just like the horizontal ones around the arm. So I think we'll be fine. Let's get started. I'm gonna water down my black paint so I get a nice smooth glide, but I'm not gonna water it down so much that I can see through it. All right, let's start with the jacket. That wasn't so bad, now was it? Now while I've got him off his base, I'm going to paint the base. I think I want to do this purple. I've been doing a lot of black ones lately, so let's do a purple one. All right, now it's time to antique his coat, or his suit, really. And he's done! My sculpture of Beetlejuice is complete. Let me know what you think of him in the comments. All right, I think he looks pretty good. I mean, I've been staring at him all day long, so it's kind of hard for me to put together my thoughts, but I mean, I think he turned out all right. I'm kind of enjoying this series. I like the details, of course. I like using, you know, the cosplay and the super sculpting together. I think I I think I made it look like Michael Keaton. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts and then who you think I should make next. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. If you've used any of the tips and techniques in this video on your own projects, share them to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and tag me at Ace of Clay or hashtag Ace of Clay so I can check them out. And then if you want more content from me outside of YouTube, be sure to check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. I'm at Ace of Clay, and then I'm at Ace of Clay Official on TikTok. So hope to see you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.